Hello, Intro. We have been working through the process of understanding the materials and design aspects which you will apply to your relief sculpture. First, you explored texture as an element of design which describes how things feel. The textures you created in your sketchbook are real textures because they are actual textures which you can feel. As you continue, your final sculpture should exemplify solutions to the problem, how do I create real textures through the manipulation of cardboard? Next, you studied the principle of design balance, which is concerned with visual weight, and how the elements of design are arranged because in the visual arts, balance is seen and not weighed. There are three forms of balance. Symmetrical balance, which is predictable and stabilized because the two halves of the composition are identical mirror images. There's radial balance, which is similar to symmetry, but the design radiates from the center. These designs can usually be divided into 4 or more similar sections. The final form of balance is asymmetrical balance or informal balance, which means the two halves are dissimilar, but it still requires the composition to be visually balanced. As you consider balance and texture, you'll now need to consider the work of Louise Nevelson to move through this unit. Louise Nevelson was a Ukrainian-American abstract sculptor. Abstract sculpture is non-objective, meaning that it has no visually obvious subject matter, but it still has a specific meaning so that the subject matter is specific to the artist. Nevelson was born Leah Berlowitsky in Kiev, Ukraine, into a family of progressive, free-thinking people. She had a father that believed in equality for women and raised young Leah to be an independent thinker. In 1905, her family left the Ukraine for the United States due to growing discrimination against Jewish people across Russia. In the U.S., Leah's father owned a lumber yard, which would impact her later work. Leah Berlowitsky became Louise Nevelson after she left high school and got married. Her need for independence caused Louise to grow restless very quickly because of the expectations that were put on her as a traditional wife and mother. Louise really wanted to work and also make art. In the 1930s, Nevelson left the U.S. to study art in Germany. During this time, the premier modern art schools were all in Germany. Her studies were cut short, though, with the rise of the Nazi government. She quickly moved back to New York and continued working on her art. Nevelson was very poor during this time and found it easier to acquire discarded objects and wood on the streets of New York. This is when Nevelson began combining her abstract art education with her past experience as the daughter of a lumberyard owner. Nevelson's work is called assemblage art. Assemblage art is work created by combining existing individual objects into a whole. Nevelson dipped her found objects and wood scraps into paint and then assembled the individual pieces into sculptures. She later evolved into working with crates, which she joined together to create larger pieces. These crates filled her apartment as she produced each individual one. The size and scale of her work helped Nevelson to gain respect and interest in her work. If you look closely at her pieces, can you see how the individual crates are stacked on top of each other to create that large size sculpture? The large-scale sculpture of this kind was very unusual for female artists at the time. This sculpture is her homage to 6 million, representing the Jews that were killed during the Holocaust. She worked on creating meaning in her work by using ideas that were important to the person that she was. She did not want to be seen as a woman artist, but as an artist that was equal to other artists, male or female. She did not want to have the title female artist attached to the end of her name. You are now ready to complete the Nevelson Art Journal page. You need to read her biography and use the images on the page. Follow the rubric as you respond to her work.